town got its hustlers.
So the year's 1972. It's Gulf Shores, Alabama. It's in between my 8th grade and 9th grade year. I'm listening to the radio. I'm listening to a station, a top 40 station out of New Orleans and WABB in Mobile. And what I'm hearing is a song about a guy named Jim. The guy you don't mess around with. You don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, you don't mess around with the Old Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. Jim Croce wrote that song. And that's what I remember from 1972. And so I always thought it would be really great to have a conversation with him, but I can't. He's no longer with us. But Ingrid Croce has written a book about him called I Got a Name. And she's going to sit down with us right now.
I'm a country boy, said looking for a man named Jim. I am a bull shooting boy, my name is Willie McCoy, but down at home they call me Slim. Yeah, I'm looking for the king of 42nd Street. He drive on a drop top Cadillac. Last week he took all my money and it may sound funny, but I come to get my money back. And everybody say, Jack, don't you know that you don't tug on Superman's cape? You don't speak.
Writing a book about someone you know and know intimately. And what is that? What's the challenge?
Well, there's a lot of challenges. I guess the first thing is making sure that you respect that individual in a way that, and that you give as much credence to that, to the authenticity of who that person is as you possibly can, and not from one perspective, but from every facet. So that was a big issue.
How are you dealing with being a new mom and having Jim on the road?
It's hard, really hard. I mean, we'd always wanted to do it together. You know, that was my dream, to raise a family together, because I had grown up with parents that had divorced, and I never had that. And that was my dream my whole life. And, you know, but we recognized that, you know, Jim had to go on the road. It wasn't a choice. And, you know, if he was going to make it in the music business, which we both wanted really more than anything, he wanted to be a professional musician and a singer-songwriter. He had to do that.
How does this man take these songs and write such interesting songs about people? Because to write about people, you really have to understand them.
He was a great listener. He was a really good listener. And he was, you know, a photographic memory, and he would read 2-3 books in a day. I mean, he really, and he could speak languages, and he could do dialects, and, you know, a little bit like Jimmy Fallon, you know, really, really good at that kind of caricatures of people.
At the same time, you're on this coast, and he's all over the place. And,
yes.
and when it starts off, you're not making a lot of money.
Well, we never made any money. We made $200.
Everybody thinks that you make a lot of money
right.
when you have a hit on the radio. It's just not true.
Well, you know, those old contracts were such that you didn't. We signed a contract in perpetuity, which meant that we were paid, basically initially we were paid for being writers, and never got anything really much more than that. And then when Jim died, I received a check because it was coming from ASCAP, and it came to the estate of Jim Croce. And when
right.
I learned about the fact that I should have, you know, we should have been receiving those checks all along.
Right.
It was very interesting.
I'm trying to think of how many artists that I know that 1971, 50 years later almost, that you can still not only vividly hear the songs, you know the lyrics.
Yes.
You can still sing the songs.
That's right.
There's not too many.
There's not too many.
And
I think James Taylor maybe, City of New Orleans, Arlo Guthrie, maybe a few others, but really, and maybe people like Nat King Cole, you know, the holiday songs, even Johnny Mathis from when we were young, you know, people used to write and sing those songs.
Well, that means he's a classic writer.
Absolutely.
It's not a day. It's not a pop song of the day.
Well, it's kind of sad that people get to write songs and people don't really get to know the songs. Like you said, Jim's songs are staying around, and people sang them to their kids, and their kids sing them to their kids. So there's generations of people that know the same music. I mean, that to me is really valuable. It is a medium that transcends all kinds of religious beliefs. It transcends political beliefs, and it just really keeps people being people. You know, it's not blue collar or white collar. It's not, you know, black, Hispanic, Japanese. It's like everybody listens to this music, and it just really ties us together in so many ways.
If there's one chapter that really was hard to write, and there are several, and I can think of several, and as I was reading it, I was gripped by it. Please, go ahead.
Let me take this book. I'd say that the first and the last are two of the most interesting. There actually were one chapter, but we split them in half because it just worked that way. We wrote this, my husband Jimmy Rock and I wrote this as a script, in a sense, because we really wanted people. We hope that there's going to be a movie. That's one of my goals.
Well, it should be.
But
who would play Jim Croce?
You know, it's so funny you say that. Gyllenhaal is his name?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
I saw his picture today, and my husband pointed him out to me, and I just went, oh my God, he looked so much like Jim. He had a beard. Mm-hmm. He'd grown a beard, and his eyes, all of a sudden, I looked at him and I thought he'd be
He did Donnie Darko, so...
But the first and last chapters, I think, are probably my favorite. And, you know, if I look at the chapters, all of the chapters, as you know, have song titles or have album titles. And Lover's Cross was a hard one, really hard one. I think that the fun ones, What Do People Do? The first chapters are the best for me. They were the happiest times, and as it gets further, but the epilogue and I Got a Name, the final chapter, I think it's bittersweet. I think that because it does come to a finale where you feel like the hero's journey has taken place. You know, from beginning to end. I mean, Jim had a crescendo. He came into this hero's journey, and he went through tough times, and he got to be a star. He got to, you know, 3/4 of the way through the book. He gets to really to have his dream come true, but his father and his parents aren't really there to recognize it. And then you come to the end of it where he's just about to lose his dream. And all of a sudden, I got a name, I've got a dream. And they're just coming true, and then he dies. And the thing is, you know he dies before you read the book. So you feel fulfilled on one level, and you feel let down on the other that he never gets to live that dream. And, you know, but at the same time, his music lives on. And you get to know that his music lives on because you hear it all the time. So, you know, it's a wonderful story, I think it tells the story of a life well lived, even if it's only 30 years. It's really a life well lived.
Well, thank you so much, and it's great to see you again.
It's great to see you.
And
thank you so much for this evening.
Oh, absolutely. And anytime.
I really appreciate it.
Like a fool I am, and I'll always be. I've got a dream. I've got a dream. They can change their minds, but they can't change me. I've got a dream. I've got a dream. Oh, I know I could share it if you want me to. If you're going my way,